Ladies and gentlemen, just last night, Donald Trump took the stage and made all of our crypto portfolios shake quite a bit as the price, when he came up, basically was kind of, went down roughly 4% in those hours, with a quick bounce back of roughly 4% again in the following hours before again continuing to go down 3% and right now it's starting to go back up. It's been some crazy volatility. But like we've been covering for a while now, still, if we're taking a look at history right now, one of the historically most bullish phases for the Bitcoin price should be starting. And for that reason, I am not changing my strategy, even though many people believe that right now is the buy the rumors, sell the news type of event. Again, in my own humble opinion, if we're taking a look at the longer term cycle, which can be seen from a lot of different angles, right now we've basically got ourselves another 70 weeks of really bullish times ahead. And so the only thing I'm looking at is, how much should I be buying at these levels? How exposed do I want to be on the short term? Because if I just buy, in my own opinion, every single dip here, because of all the indicators pointing towards a massive spike happening in the short term, I think the risk to reward here is pretty good. Anyway, before we dive into all that, make sure you go ahead and press the like button on this video if you've not done it already. I appreciate you a ton, just know that. And anyway, right now is the weekend. We've actually had some pretty crazy price action over the weekend, but ultimately it seems we are ending up quite neutral. And that's actually the trend that's been around for a little while, like I've stated. If you do zoom out significantly, you'll notice again that throughout the last months, we really barely have moved at all. There have been some outliers, sure, like this little dip here in the beginning of this month, and perhaps some outlier like the first crazy Bitcoin top, but generally speaking, it's been sideways throughout all this time. Right now as it stands though, we are not expecting the price to move too far away from this middle line at roughly 67.9 thousand, because that's usually where it ends up after a weekend, right where it started the weekend off at. And since right now is already Sunday, and yesterday was obviously a crazy volatile day because of Trump's speech, as I said, we're not expecting too crazy of a price move today. It'll probably start happening again on Monday. But anyway, to get back to our thoughts as to the current price, it seems that the trend has reversed. So where prior it was basically a downtrend all the way up to the beginning of July, setting a proper bottom at 53,000, it seems right now that things have shifted over. From that bottom, it seems we are slowly but surely building our way up, with again now two tests, or two retests I should say, being made at this previous resistance, well, at least support that turned into a resistance. And I think it's mostly just important to understand that there's an uptrend going on, even though the general trend is mostly sideways. So since we're facing this consolidation phase of not really going anywhere, we have not really broken too low. As I said, we had an outlier at 53K, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary for a bull market. And since we haven't crossed the all-time high in such a long time, it is basically only once we go outside of the normal bound that we are expecting quick, massive, crazy moves again. In the meantime, there's been a lot of news, sure. Some really crazy announcements have been shared. Like yesterday, the last couple of days have been absolutely crazy, really crazy. Making America the capital of crypto, buying millions of Bitcoin. But anyway, right now as it stands, I basically see our bounds as follows. This $60,000 bottom and this roughly $72,000 top. And that means since we've been going sideways or back and forward basically within this bound for so long, we're expecting it to continue. And since we had our outlier and basically a bottom set, and right now this little bull phase has started, I am expecting the price to hit $72,000 not too long from now. Perhaps though, if the past is copied, we will get rejected there, perhaps slightly above or slightly below. But I'd say in the short term, this is the most interesting level to watch out for, as there are a couple of short-term resistances, sure. I mean, 69 point something, I mean, I should just say $70,000 flat is a very big psychological number. And we have gotten back to it on multiple occasions throughout time, but I think the 72K mark, as you can see from all these different hit points, is way more significant. And also, even though on a 1 month perspective this is kind of skewed, over a 3-month period, you'll notice just how much money is going to start flowing once we cross that $72,000 mark again. Right here you can see that at 72,300, there's $6 billion worth of liquidations that will happen. And like I said, on the shorter term, the 1 month, for example, it looks more as if $70,000 is important. This is a massive psychological barrier, and throughout the recent history here, we have really not gotten to it. I mean, this is the entire last month. I understand the pressure surrounding the 70K mark because, again, it's not been seen in the last month. So basing it on this data, that's the big breaker. But if you base it on some slightly longer term / larger data set where we actually did reach these prices before, it becomes more obvious that $72,000 is the mark to watch out for. And so if you, like me, are having some positions open right now, this might be an area where you want to take some profit or exit your trades for the short term. And then perhaps once we break out of these bounds, so cross this area, you open them back up, or you have multiple take profits, with one of the first ones being at roughly 72,000, just to accommodate for all these past resistances, or I should say resists, making this such a strong resistance level. So again, it is just being cautious. And the strategy I've been explaining for months, people say, oh, you've been gone. It has always been and will be, whenever you go below this range, this line right here, the 60K mark, like I've been saying for many, many months here on this channel, ever since I started it, is just buy it all up. Buy every single time you can below this mark. If you ask me, it's the best thing you can do. Buy low and sell high. Again, throughout the last couple of months, it has worked flawlessly. And like I've shown you with all the case studies, over prolonged periods of time, it'll also work. Just on the short term, like we saw in this area right here, it might look annoying, or just like right here, you have a few weeks where you're just hating yourself or biting your nails, but ultimately it will get back up there. Just the amount of time it takes may differentiate. But that's the strategy for right now. That's exactly what I'm doing. If you also want to trade, check out the links down below. I've placed a link to 𝗫𝗫. It's the exchange I use myself, and a couple of others down below. And hopefully see you guys again in another crypto video soon.